Spring 1943. The stark scent of antiseptic cut through the lingering fog of ether, a different kind of air than the sand and cordite he remembered. He blinked, adjusting to the unfamiliar brightness of an army hospital ward in the United States. The clean, crisp weight of a white sheet covered him, not the mud and blood-soaked tunic he expected. Somewhere down the row, a nurse's shoes squeaked on polished linoleum. A woman in starched army white stood at the foot of his bed, checking a chart. He turned his head slowly. In the next bed lay an American GI, a bandaged leg mirroring his own, under identical sheets. This Afrika Korps soldier had been taught for years that Americans finished off the wounded, that surrender meant a bullet. Instead, he had been carried thousands of miles across an ocean so that American surgeons could save his leg. And before this war ended, strangers with clipboards would walk through wards exactly like this one, and some of these prisoners would be sent home early because they were wounded. The Afrika Korps men captured in Tunisia came first, in the spring of 1943. Then came the shattered and the burned of Normandy, of the collapsing Western Front. They carried years of Nazi dogma in their heads. The enemy despises weakness. Surrender means a bullet. The wounded are left where they fall or finish there. What they entered instead was a system. The United States followed the 1929 Geneva Convention to the letter. Every camp, even the small ones, kept its own infirmary. Serious cases moved into the same army station and general hospitals that treated American soldiers. The same wards, the same surgeons, the same medical priority. A wounded prisoner rode the same evacuation chain as a wounded GI. Aid station, clearing station, hospital train or ship, a stateside bed. The convention went further. Captured German military physicians, dentists and orderlies, the Sanitäter were protected personnel, not ordinary prisoners. They kept working, treating their own countrymen inside American hospitals, under American supervision, and drew pay for it. And buried deep in the same treaty sat one more article. Few of these men had ever heard of it. It concerned neutral doctors, and it held the power to send some of them home while the war still raged. The record repeats the same scene, ward after ward. A prisoner comes off the hospital train convinced he is being processed for something darker. At every stop, the same impossible thing has happened. He was treated in order of medical need, not uniform. The surgeon who takes his mangled leg into theater that morning operates on an American sergeant the same afternoon. No distinction, no ceremony. Many men were certain it was a trick. Propaganda had prepared them for enemies who finish off the wounded, so the clean sheets, the X-ray plates, the morphine had to be a staged show. A softening up before interrogation. A facade that would collapse in a few days. They waited for it to collapse. Instead, a plaster cast set on an arm. A card appeared on the bedside table. Next dressing changed Tuesday 9 in the morning. Charts logged every temperature. Dressing rounds arrived on schedule, punctual to the minute. Penicillin held the infections back. In the corridors, German Sanitäter, prisoners themselves, moved alongside American nurses, translating complaints, steadying frightened men. The appointment card said what no interrogator ever would. There was a next week, and the enemy was planning for it. By the second month, the reversal was complete. Men who had expected a bullet in a ditch were complaining that enforced bed rest was unbearably boring, and being told by the enemy, in fractured German, to stay in bed. And the pattern kept proving itself, camp after camp. Dental care came first for many, not hurried extractions, but proper fillings and custom-fitted dentures. For men who had never been able to afford a dentist as civilians, the clinic logs filled up. Eyeglasses were prescribed and issued. Artificial limbs were fitted for amputees, adjusted, then adjusted again. Any prisoner could report to sick call at his camp infirmary, no questions beyond the medical ones. What the infirmary couldn't handle went up the line to the post-hospital. German POW doctors practiced on their own men in converted barracks, stocked with American equipment, X-ray machines, surgical instruments, penicillin, and under the convention, they drew pay for it. Letters describing all of this passed the censors and reached Germany. According to post-war accounts, Families struggling through air raids and rationing simply refused to believe them. Casts, dentures, a surgeon who came back the next day, it read like propaganda. Or delusion. One of the men who lived it was Hans Weaker of Fort Robinson, the same prisoner this channel has quoted before. He went home, trained as a physician, and ended his career practicing medicine in Maine, in the country that had held him. Every X-ray and every filled tooth was a quiet crack in 12 years of propaganda. The worldview did not fall to arguments. It fell one appointment at a time, but the same record holds darker lines. On the Eastern Front, Germany let captured Soviet soldiers die by the million, of wounds never treated, of typhus, of hunger. A deliberate policy. Its own captured men in those same years were getting casts set and teeth filled in army hospitals across America. Both things were true at the same time. From 1944, the American press sharpened one word: coddling. Why did captured Nazis get army surgeons and new prosthetics, while American boys wasted away in German camps? The Army's answer never changed, and it was cold. Strict Geneva compliance was a shield over the tens of thousands of American prisoners in German hands. Inside the wire, gratitude was dangerous. Hardline Nazis enforced loyalty, and a man who spoke too well of American doctors could be beaten for it. And in the Jim Crow South, the irony ran bitterest of all. A captured enemy soldier could be treated by Army doctors in wards that Black American soldiers, men in U.S. uniform, could not use on equal terms. The care itself was not flawless everywhere. Post-war accounts describe language barriers and crowded wards as the prisoners poured in through 1944 and 45. But the policy held. Then the article from the treaty fired. Mixed medical commissions, panels of neutral physicians, Swiss doctors among them, toured the American camps, examined the badly wounded and the incurably sick, and certified men for repatriation while the war was still on. The record shows exchange sailings under Red Cross markings leaving through neutral ports, carrying certified men home years before their comrades. The army they had been taught would finish them off had convened neutral doctors to send them back to their mothers because they were wounded. The rest went home in 1946 to a ruined and hungry Germany, and the American ward hardened into memory. Decades later, in interviews and memoirs, former prisoners kept returning to the same details: the dentures, the eyeglasses, the surgeon who came back the next day, as the moment the propaganda broke. They had been taught the enemy finishes off the wounded. Instead, the enemy X-rayed them, rebuilt them, and sent the worst of them home early. These are the lost histories. Subscribe so these moments aren't lost to time, leave a like, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from.